Hello, how you doing? My question about the modalities was, I think, just related to the assignment. I had heard other people talk about modalities, and I've tried my best to figure out what the criteria for a modality and staying inside of it is. But I seem to be hitting the mark. So let me show you how I would find some of the articles, and then you can sort out that modality question as we go, or you can sort it out with um, your instructor as well. So when you're looking up treatment, especially like an intervention for something like sexual violence, trauma, it's going to be there's going to be like the medical side of things, which I think we should approach. But mostly, I would say it's going to be on the psychology side of things, isn't it? And how you can deal with that long after the physical wounds have healed, for a lifetime even. So there's a couple places that we can approach this from. So, oh, and it's interesting. If you look at maybe like medical research or even like nursing or health professions, if they're there at the moment of the reported trauma or they're intervening on behalf of a adolescent, um, their approach is going to be different than maybe the longitudinal one. And so that might be something to look at too. So, like an initial intervention versus like long term therapy. So, that might be the answer to the question right there. But let me show you how you can find information that you're interested in and you can sift through all the pieces. So, from the library catalog, you could search up some of these things by putting in some of the key words and the moments that you talked about already. But I think because it's going to be, the catalog is very general, it might get muddied with public policy or it might get muddied with education or all sorts of different things mixed together. So we want to look just at psychology. So if we go to databases here, we can, if we don't know the name of a database, we can go by major field of study and we can find psychology that way. There's going to be several psychology databases, but the most popular one, the librarian will pick and put that at the top, and that one is PsycInfo from the APA. I think I've already logged in for the day. I was worried. The internet is a little slow at my house, and so I was worried that that was actually going to go through. So imagine, if you will, you've been transported to a portal that only looks at psychology literature. And in fact, it's only looking at like the high level literature. So this isn't like blogs or self edited things. These are things where somebody proposes something, an article, and if the journal accepts that proposal, they produce an article that then goes up to an editorial board of peers. That's what the peer review is, and they have to decide whether or not the methodology, the rigor and ethics and the conclusions and how they process the data and all of that stuff, if it's good enough to represent the entire scholarship of psychology. And so peer review is very rigorous. And so this is where we get the good stuff. You can also down here click on peer reviewed, but we can do that later because right now we're wondering how people are talking about this. I'm not sure they use the term incest. So let's try a search. Incest. Oh, look at that. Okay, maybe it is in there. Because I think sexual trauma, like rape or sexual assault, is sometimes, I don't know if they discriminate if the actors are members of the same family or if it's an outsider or something like that. So since you have to get 10 articles, you might look at how sexual trauma in adolescence is um, intervened and treated and things like that. And then also you can complement that with articles where it's members of the same family. So don't feel like you have to find 10 articles all talking about that exact context, but you might find one on this angle, this angle, this angle, and so on and so forth. That'll make sense. So let's take a look. So we put in the keyword incest. I put in the AND because this database doesn't do smart searching. I have to put an AND in between each keyword. So to look for my first concept, and then after it gives me all the search results for that first concept, The and says, out of this search results, then I want you to find this. And so let's do, whoops. So this, my second concept, I don't know if it's going to be called a treatment or an intervention. So if I can put it in brackets, that nesting, or parentheses rather, I can say my second concept is treatment or intervention. And I could go on and on and on with the ors if I wanted to. So my next concept is going to be the population. Oh, I have the toughest time getting that C in there. Oh, adult. That's the hardest word for me to type. I don't know why. And female. The more concepts you add, separated by the ands, the more concepts you add, the smaller your search results get. So if this is too much, if this is too narrow, we'll know in just a minute, and then we can take keywords away and try a different approach. 189. It's not too big and it's not too small. What happens when we go over here and click on peer reviewed? So there's sorting options over on the left hand side. So if I click on peer reviewed, that's going to bring us down. Oh, only 276. That's not bad. We also want to narrow in the publication date. We want stuff that's like published in this century, or maybe even this decade. So let's come up from the 1960s. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting that nothing's been published in 2021. So we'll go 2010. We'll do the last 10 years. Your assignment may dictate that it's last 5 years, but you'll know how to do it now. Ooh, there's only 18 left. See, so what I was talking about is that might be too narrow. But let's see. Here's one. A treatment model. Oh, that's interesting. They use the word incestuous instead of incest. If I don't know, so what I could do is do incest or incestuous like that. But I can come up here, and if I do a star, that's the same thing as anything with the prefix incest. It'll catch all those other words, incest, incestuous. So let's see if we can bump it up from 18. No, just 18. That's all right. Oh, here's an interesting one. They call it a family intervention. So you could save keywords and try them out at different times. So here's child protection issues. In the context is in a particular country. Here's a treatment model. This is evaluation, so that's not a treatment. This is looking at maybe a comorbidity of a problem with it. Suicide ideation. I'm not seeing a lot of interventions. So what you'll have to do is go through these, and maybe the article won't be explicitly on an intervention, but it might be a broader scope, and then it might talk about interventions in the article. Something to be aware of is, in some of these, you can get the PDF full text right then and there. That's the easiest thing. But these other ones over here, there's like this external link icon and view it. What does that mean? That means it's in another database, and this button connects you to those other databases. Sometimes it doesn't work. So if you click on something and you really want that article and you can't get it, you can email me the citation and I'll track it down for you. Or if you're familiar with Interlibrary Loan, you can request it through there. Both of those options are free. But when you click on the View It button, it'll open up the catalog and it'll look in other databases for that journal. And it'll say, maybe try these journals. Look under the yellow bar. But don't spend more than like a minute or so on this. If you can't get full text rather quickly, that's my job to help you track those things down. So let's do, let's, let's try a different set of keywords. So we know that these are okay. Incest and treatment or intervention, adolescent and female. Let's change this. Family. Do you remember that? Family. So if we get that star there, that'll get family and families, or family or families. Family or families, and incest or sexual trauma or sexual assault. So instead of looking just for incest, we're also looking for other ways that it might be classified, and that family is the connector right there. So let's see what happens when we do this. Because you would treat them similarly, and there might be an intervention that's very similar. Oh, I didn't think of sexual abuse. It says 161. Let's add another one. Sexual assault, sexual behaviors. And this is still limited. Once you get the sidebar where all these are limited, it'll stay that way. Or not secular abuse. Why do I put stuff in quotes? Sometimes if you have more than one word in a concept, a key concept, you want those to stick together. You don't want to find one word here and another word here. You want them always to be like stuck together. That works with multiple words. That works in Google as well. You can put as many words as you want. If you stick them in quotes, it'll look for that big string of text. I'm searching 265. Now that's a little better. And I'll email you this. The search string that I had done. But this is the way that I would go. Another thing, so let me copy this whole string of concepts, and let's try a different database. Instead of psychology, let's look at in the health sciences at medicine. And a really good one, frankly, is nursing. Because if you have somebody who is with somebody who they might have experienced this sexual trauma, people in the population of professionals that are categories in nursing are trained actively to seek that and ask those questions and have those interventions and start that moment. So that would be CINAHL Complete. There's another one called Medline, which is like more health professions altogether. But let's see what the profession in nursing says with my huge search string. They're going to be familiar with psychology, but this is like a practitioner level, kind of like social work. Oh, they have 128 too. Look at that. Sexual assault of women. So I think if you can't find 10 that say exactly what you want to say, look for supporting evidence that supports some of those other things. So if it's outside of the population of adolescent girls, women arguably have been adolescent girls at one point in their life, right? So it might be okay to support some of those attitudes where people are looking back at their youth. So don't be so difficult that it has to be like really tightly constrained. There's always supporting evidence from other places to go. Okay, let me know how it goes, and I'm happy to help further, but this is what I've been telling everyone else in the class, and I'm happy to help. Have a good one, and get outside today if you can. It's sunny.